All right, I am back with part two. Part two of this guy that should not be building showers. I'm going to say this. Let me preface because I said, well, I didn't say. I actually gave a heads up on the beginning of that video, at the bottom of the little caption on the picture, that this is a friendly critique. So I'm not out to bash this guy because he's good at something. And what I found out, because I went through his channel and found a bunch of videos where he's doing carpentry. And I think, because I don't do carpentry for a living, I think he's really, really good at carpentry, but he's not so good at building a shower. And so the reason I'm doing this critique again, he has almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube, 1.8 and change. And I feel it's disingenuous for somebody to come on. Well, a couple of things. First of all the stuff that he claims he didn't know and all the mistakes that he made that he rectified on camera. Oh, I rectified it before I left the job. Well, right, that's what we do. But we don't put it on camera unless we're looking for props. So I think it's disingenuous for that matter, but also because he's going through the process of making the mistakes. And what if somebody stopped? What if somebody's like, "Oh, okay, this is how you do it," and they just stopped the video and they went about their business, not knowing that he made a mistake because he says that later on in the video. So I think it's disingenuous for both of those reasons. One, because like I don't record my mistakes. Like everybody makes mistakes, I do as well, but I don't record them. I might talk about them on a separate video, but I don't make the mistakes on the video I'm presenting to the public because I think that's a bad look. It's a bad look for the contractor, but it's even a worse look for somebody doing something that they'll screw up because you screwed up and then you don't. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to get on to part two. I'm not going to talk a whole lot because I do have a tendency of talking a lot. So I just wanted, as again, I just wanted to know, well, for y'all to know that I'm not bashing this guy. I'm just letting him know that I think it's a bad look to do videos like this, no matter what it is, because there's a couple of other mess up videos that he does quite a few of the mess up videos. I think some concrete he poured on his porch and some other stuff. Anyway, you can go to his channel if you want to, but I'm going to get on to talking about this particular shower build that he's in the process of doing. So let us continue.
Welcome back, everybody. The comments in my last episode have informed me I made a terrible mistake doing the shower pan and the drain in my last episode. Long story short, whenever I used silicone installing this part of the drain flange, I completely blocked the weep holes and the drain's ability to pull water and moisture away from the mortar bed.
Okay. So honestly, for whatever reason, I missed that. I don't know why I missed that. That top locking flange never, ever, ever should have silicone around it. And so apparently some people went on, and again, this is one of those things that I was saying just a few minutes ago. Like literally, I was saying that because if they had watched that first video, they think they're doing it right. And then what do? They clogged up their holes. He's not doing a correction video until like a week later or something like that. So if somebody stumbled on him and said, "Oh, he's got 1.8 million subscribers, so he must know what he's doing." But then he shows what he showed on there with that locking flange. No, every single weep hole, every way of egress that you have, especially on a water in, water out system, which is what he's doing, will screw up the whole shower, like literally. And there's where my exception to him has to do with.
But do not worry, I can fix that.
I can fix that.
Yes, that is a holes reference. Okay, here we go. The first thing I did was use a Sharpie to mark the depth of the shower liner. I didn't want to cut into it while I was scoring this mortar around the drain. I'm going to eventually chisel this away, but the idea is to score some cracks into it, and those will be breaking points that we can work with. The first set of lines that I scored into the mortar weren't very deep. I just wanted to test this theory, and once I knew that it was going to work, I scored deeper lines.
Well, once you knew that it was going to work, but how did you know it was going to work? So what if you did hit the liner? Like, how would you know that you hit the liner until you already, I don't know. If I made a mistake like that, I don't know that I would rectify it this way. Here's the problem with mortar, especially. Sometimes cement or concrete you can marry together, but with mortar, I find it very, very difficult to get a good having one area of concrete. In other words, concrete mortar. So in other words, if I had say 5 bags of mortar and I needed 6, right? And I'm like, oh, I can do the 6th one the next day. No, I'm not trying to marry the 6 bag to the other 5 bags, because there's something about the adhesion of those two, yes, same similar products, but not adhering correctly. And I guess for whatever reason, he didn't want to take out the whole pan and do it over again. I probably would have, but okay.
Still not all the way down to the shower liner, I used the chisel to break all of that out. Around the drain's weep holes, there's just pea gravel that's loose. So once I broke up the mortar, it actually cleared up really nicely around it, and I was able to unscrew the drain successfully.
Right, but here's the issue. How do you know you didn't hit the pan liner until it's, past too late? And how would he have known the depth anyway of the pan liner? Like, how would he know that?
Now that the collar is exposed, you can see how there's no way for the water to get through that silicone and drain through the weep holes. There's also these grooves on the bottom of the piece that serve to pull moisture to the drain as well. And those
Right. Let me back up to that, because I've talked about this many times on the water in, water out system.
that silicone and drain through the weep holes. There's also these.
Okay, so you see at the bottom there, I think on his drain, there's probably 6 or 8 of those little troughs at the very bottom, but they're also at the top, and they're also the holes for where the bolts go. So there's many ways, not just the 4 or 5 or 6 weep holes that are there. There's many ways for water to egress, and he clogged them all. But the biggest problem that I have is that he's trying to rectify something that he made a mistake on, and over and over and over again, he seems to, I don't know. I guess maybe if I just put a bunch of mistake videos, I'll probably get 1 million views too, or subscribers too. I don't really understand the logic or the theory behind his videos.
Grooves on the bottom of the piece that serve to pull moisture to the drain as well, and those were totally clogged. Once it was cleaned up, I could put this piece back into the drain and screw down those bolts, holding everything together. Like the comment said, this was a huge rookie mistake, but so far, so good.
Yes, it was a huge rookie mistake, but here again, this is what I said on the first video. YouTube University has been around for 17 years. I've been on YouTube for 14 years, and other people have been on longer than that. So there's no reason that he should have done that, because he didn't do his due diligence. He didn't do his, prep, his homework and all that stuff in order to build a shower. So there's that too.
Able to screw the drain back in, and now it's time to get ready to patch that mortar. First, I added some pebbles around the drain and weep holes, and then I mixed up some more of the mortar bedding mix.
See, that's another reason I don't agree with his patch-in thing. The patch-in thing, it's a monolithic shower pan, right? So you could argue the point that say, which I'm doing, and say those pebbles are the Achilles heel, right? There's a soft spot right where the pebbles are at, but at least you have, 5, 6 bags of mortar to encapsulate that area. Now he's kind of almost separated the two a little bit. I don't know. I've already talked about in the other video about how I don't believe in pea gravel around the weep holes. I think it would clog them before it would ever allow water to go through, but that's just me.
I packed this mortar in by hand at first to make sure it really embedded into all the corners and negative spaces with the existing mortar bed. Then I compacted everything with my trowel to ensure it was.
And he used a lot more pebbles than he did the first time.
Really in there. The slope was already established, and so I just matched the existing one, and that brought me to the right height on the drain. To double check everything, I grabbed a sheet of the tile I'm going to be using, and what I'm looking for is the tile to sit just above the drain so that the water always falls into it.
Right. And I set my tile just above the drain so the water falls into it too. And I'm going to talk about this later, because he left those edges, and yes, they're not sharp edges because it's a flat pebble type of tile, but he left those edges exposed. And I'm going to get to that when we get to that point. But yeah, I do a little taper cut. So with my thin set and my tile slightly above, I'm probably an 1/8 or maybe possibly a 1/4 inch, not quite a 1/4 inch above where the drain edge is at. But then I taper each one of those individual tiles so that it has a nice smooth transition. And he just left it there. So there's that.
Oh, dang it. And there it is. Patch complete. Very relieving. I was really nervous to try that. I did not want to puncture that waterproof lining, and I'm so happy that I didn't. So we've given this new mortar 24 hours to cure, and now it's time to do a water test. We're going to be making sure that all of these weep holes are functioning and our slope is draining properly. Here we go. Once the water is high enough, it should drain through the actual drain, but then after that, it'll have to use the weep holes. The water went to the height of the drain pretty quickly. That makes sense. So I set up a time lapse on my camera and you can see how it goes through the weep holes and eventually drains.
Okay, I don't suggest doing this. When you have a mortar bed like this, we're waiting about 72 hours. Typically, I wait about 3 days before I start red guarding everything, right? Because that's in an effort to evaporate as much moisture as I possibly can from the mortar. So the mortar has dried somewhat, but it hasn't cured. And then he adds a whole bucket of 5 gallons of water into the mortar bed, reintroduces water back into the bed again. So now you don't even know the content of your water. Like, you're not having that much water with just the mortar alone, but now you've exponentially more water than you ever needed to have. So I would never do a flood test on my mortar bed. And if I did, I would wait at least a solid week with a fan running 24/7 before I ever encapsulated it with any waterproofer. However, he's doing a half water in, water out system, and then the rest of the shower is going to be waterproof, which makes no sense. It's kind of like half of one, half of the other.
Awesome, totally drained. The original install on this mortar bed might not have been, but at least this repair is 1-800-SUPER-PRO. Some of y'all commenting were brutal, but I do appreciate the constructive criticism from people that let me know I was doing that wrong. I really guess that's one upside of documenting all of this work. Some of y'all thought it was crazy I was even doing a traditional mortar bed rather than some kind of Schluter system. And to me, this wasn't about saving money. I think I saved a little bit on material costs, but I for sure lost a lot of time doing this method.
Okay, I'm going to speak to that. Schluter system. Schluter is a company with different products, variable type of products. There are a lot of pre-pitched foam pans. Okay, those pans are okay. I don't know that I'm comfortable going forward in history doing those pans. I think somebody else needs to do them first and let 10 years, 15 years go down the road before I'm ever comfortable doing the foam pans. That's just me, because I'm old school and I'm always going to do a mortar pan. But they do have those foam pans that are exponentially more expensive than what he's talking about. He said, "Oh, it's not about saving money." Yes, it is. There is a Tile Ready is one of the pans that I actually do like because it's literally like condensed type of foam. It's compressed foam. It's not the foam that you would take in a styrofoam cooler to the beach. And then it's tile ready, so it has this rough surface on top, and you can just set the pan in there and go at it, like there's no wait time and all that stuff. And it does save a lot of time, but it definitely doesn't save money. On that pan alone, because it's such a small shower, my best guess for a tile ready pan, $800, maybe $1,000. Not quite $1,000, maybe. And then the order time, right? So the time it takes to order, they have to pre-cut it and all that, or cut it and then send it to you and all that stuff. And so you're spending a lot more time and effort doing one of those than you are a simple mortar bed. A simple mortar bed is like 5 bags typically of mortar, which is okay, $5-6 each, some 2x4s and a pan liner. You've got maybe $150 of material in there, maybe, opposed to one of the foam pans.
Ultimately, it just seemed like the best move with the custom layout with the drain being a little bit offset. Some of the rudest comments, though, were saying that it was stupid for me to install a mortar bed to begin with because they're so prone to failure.
Wrong. They are not prone to failure. Failure happens with any individual because we are not a monolith. Everybody does things a different way. Everybody has their mortar a different way. They pack it down a different way. Every job is different. So mortar bed is not prone to failure. Operator malfunction makes a shower fail, or a pan. But I've taken out pans that are 20 plus years, 30 years, 35 years. I've literally taken out mortar pans 35, 40 years old. And nothing in your house lasts 35 to 40 years, except the wood. and maybe the sheetrock in some cases. But it's also, that's a lie that a mortar bed is cheaper. That it's harder to do, yes. And so, good for him for at least trying, right? Because he could have, and I would have preferred him to go in with the tile ready. I would have preferred him not to do the mortar bed. That's just my personal opinion.
I totally understand that, considering I made a mistake. But I fixed that, and assuming this install is correct, this should be a lifelong waterproof system. And the idea of it failing if you do the install wrong really applies to both scenarios.
Sort of, kind of. It's really hard to screw up a foam pan, but okay.
Whether you do a prefab waterproof system or a traditional mortar bed. So anyways, long story short, I appreciate the comments. I'm really happy that you guys caught me, and I'm really happy we didn't damage the waterproof liner. I feel like that's enough electrical for now. Let's get back in the bathroom and finish up this shower. I just finished a rough install of our shower system to check the offset from the studs. I'll use 1/2-inch backer board along with tile about this thickness. If I place this back here, you can see that it's just extending too far from the wall, but that's no problem. I've got 3 different lengths of these 3/4-inch extensions, and they will be for the shower install and then through on the collars. Next, I could tighten down the shower kit and make sure that it was really secure, because we're also going to be doing a leak test in just a second. But first, let's double check the depth we're at. That's perfect.
Okay, he put the collar of this shower fixture on there. There is what's called a mud guard that comes with almost every shower fixture. And so he's checking with the pretty, what I call the pretty stuff, discussion and all the different stuff that goes on after you've already built the shower and tiled it. And so he's basically eyeballing it without the mud guard, and I don't know why. He also inadvertently bought a shower fixture that has no business being in the house, because he doesn't have what's it called, the water heater, the tankless water heater. So I skipped that part. I actually cut that out of the video because it's a lot of information that you don't need to know. But basically, he bought a fixture where you need a tankless water heater. And so why would you not know that? My customer would tell me, oh, I have a tankless water heater and this is the valve that we chose, all that stuff. But I'm not going to read the directions for your valve. And obviously he didn't either. Even though this is his flip house, he didn't read the directions on the valve. So there was that. So he had to go through a bunch of other work disassembling this whole valve system and then go to Lowe's and get a different one that actually works.
And now let's do a leak test. Water's on. Okay, that looks good. No leaks. Awesome. I ended up running a few 5-gallon buckets worth of water through this system to make sure that my PEX connections didn't leak at all. And this is where I thought, plumbing complete. I think the rest of this vlog is going to be me prepping the shower for cement board. And the first thing I'm going to take care of is a little bit of additional framing.
Yeah.
I cut these 2x4s with my speed square to make sure that they were square on the ends. And I'm using these just to beef up the wall where I'm going to have my glass shower door.
Yes.
I want to make sure that I've got studs to screw into behind the tile and not do some kind of anchor or anything like that. And I think
right. And that's what I mentioned on the first video that I put out last week. I didn't like that on that right side. He didn't have any studding. So good for him for putting that studding in. Yay.
That looks good. A lot better, at least. And now this I'm excited for. It's a prefab shower niche that basically has built-in metal trim. You'll see in just a second. So with this niche, the tile comes right up to this metal border, but you don't have to install trim anywhere on the inside because this is black finished stainless steel. This should make install really easy, but give a super clean and modern look. This is the only spot that I've got a full 16-inch spacing on studs. That's an interior wall with nothing in the way, and this is gonna look.
So I've done prefab niches before because my customers handed me one, just like in that box that he threw up there. I'm not an advocate of prefab niches because I like mine vertical. I don't like mine, horizontal. I don't like mine vertical. I like the elongated thing. I particularly don't like the double shelf type of thing. But also because, again, they're expensive. I'm spending my customers' money conservatively. So why would I go out and spend fiberglass, metal, whatever, stainless steel that he has, 150, well, I don't know how much it costs, but at least $150 to $300 for a prefab niche. I just don't personally like them, but okay.
Awesome. I think right there. This blocking is going to give material for both the niche and the fiberboard to screw into, so it's pretty important. I also wanted to reinforce this middle stud where I had to cut away a little bit for the plumbing to fit properly before I went back into the kitchen and I applied a coat of silicone around the niche on the back. I did one on the inside and the outside edge. It ended up fitting perfectly into the frame we built. I made sure everything was level after I got one screw in, and I was surprised it only had one screw on each corner. Some of the original insulation had deteriorated a lot and fell out during the demolition of this shower area, so I'm just replacing it in a couple of places. I split this piece lengthwise so that I could staple it and work around this vent pipe that's going through the wall. I then taped it closed. I did a custom cut on the next piece so that I could work around the wire going through the wall. I wanted to sandwich half of the insulation between the wires and the exterior wall where they were ran, but then I wanted the other half of the insulation, fiberboard or drywall or anything else you don't put screws or nails through this stud and into a hot electrical wire.
And thank you again, comments, on letting me know that.
I got larger nail plates to protect the areas around these wires that are feeding through the top plates of the wall.
So I don't do these metal plates. In fact, they interfere with my screwing in my backer board. I actually, if there are metal plates in there, I take them out because I know exactly where all my pipes are at and where my wires and stuff like that. So I'm not going to make that mistake. But yeah, okay, those plates are kind of normal type of thing. But apparently he found out through his subscribers that he needed metal plates there. So yeah, that gives me pause too.
And into the attic area, and I think we pretty much got that covered.
And I think the last thing that the comments noticed that I need to take care of is the fact that these PEX tubes are sort of floating. I'm going to go to Home Depot.
Yeah, one of the reasons, besides the expense and the cost, the startup cost for, you know, the PEX material and the crimping tool and all that stuff, I don't like PEX because it's flimsy. Like when it comes out of a kitchen sink area or bathroom sink area or even a toilet area, even though, yeah, he's going to tie it down on the inside of the wall, it's still flimsy on the outside. I just don't like it. I just think it's, to me, it's just so cheesy, cheesy, cheesy. And I know a lot of people like it and kind of started out their career or whatever they're doing with PEX rather than copper. But copper is rigid, you know, CPVC, even though I don't like it, is at least it's rigid. And PEX is just flimsy, flimsy, flimsy. I hate it.
And get some 1/2-inch PEX clamps and then use those to tie this plumbing into the 2x4 studs.
And there really is a noticeable difference. You don't want this PEX to be able to wiggle around.
We're fully prepared to install our fiber cement board on our walls and waterproof the shower. We are back. Earlier today, I went to Home Depot and I picked up a bunch of plumbing connections. And then I stopped by Lowe's when I found a tub and shower kit with a valve I need and a black finish and trim that I really like. We're just not going to use the tub spout. The game plan is to remove the shower that I've currently got installed on the wall, and then we'll start altering the framing and the plumbing.
Right, this is where he screwed up. This is where I bypassed the whole idea that he didn't have the right valve. He purchased the wrong valve for this application. So I just bypassed that altogether so you didn't have to suffer through it. But yeah, he went to Lowe's and bought, you know, a normal valve that would work.
To fit this valve.
I had used screws to attach this blocking, so I did it. It's pretty standard for your mixing valve to sit 1.5 inches off the wall. That way you can use 2x4 framing material as your backing.
So this is our mixing valve. We connect our hot and cold water and it sends it up to the shower or down to a tub.
And the first thing I did was remove the mud guard around the plumbing. That way it would be easier to connect and screw everything together. Like I mentioned, I'm not using the tub spout, and the kit came with a cap. That way you can close this off and basically divert the water always going up.
Okay, yeah, but there should be what we call a drip tube at the bottom of there. If you're not going to use the tub part of that valve, there should be a drip tube. I'm just saying.
On the other connections, I need to use 1/2-inch PEX adapters. That way we can connect to our existing plumbing. And here I'm just cutting off the old drop ears.
And I'm going to be using these metal PEX clamps on all of my connections.
And there should be about an 1/8-inch gap between your clamp and the brass adapter.
It's really about time I learned how to run PEX. Basically, this tool ratchets closed and fastens the clamp. Let's get
same steps for the hotline, and I was excited to see.
I'm going to install the blocking for where the shower head goes, and you can see I've attached some 3/4-inch plywood
out the material. This worked out awesome.
Isn't the best thing in the world for water pressure up here, but we're in a very compact space. I'm really not upset that I ended up having to do all this plumbing. In all honesty, I've been scared of doing any kind of PEX plumbing. That's why you've always seen me use push to connect shark bite connectors. This is the job that I would have called.
No. I didn't even see that when I first watched this video. No, push to connect shark bite fittings in a shower. No. In a low pressure area like he's dealing with that, yes. Theoretically, he could use a couple of 90s on there and make it work because it's low pressure. But no, don't listen to these quick connect sharp bites in a shower valve. Don't do that. No.
The plumber for. But because I'm on a time crunch and all this does seem relatively simple, I've officially gained a new skill. So that's for sure something to be positive about. And now is the moment of truth. I'm gonna plug the drop ear up there for the shower head, and then I'll turn the water back on. And I heard the water come out. Now let's try hot water. Spacers as earlier, and this should be somewhat close to flush. That's not quite right.
I forgot I needed to remove these brackets.
And now without the bracket, if I push this all back, I'm hoping it's flush. Oh, it's perfect. That's amazing. I'm just gonna level this out and fasten it down.
The brackets are just there for connecting all your plumbing.
I'm basically a plumber now. Even though we're going one step forward, two steps back, and this shower is taking forever, I'm learning a ton. I'm gaining so many XP. Next, I'm gonna slap back on that bottom fiber cement board panel, but the walls.
Okay, that only bothers me slightly. He said fiber cement board panel. It's one or the other. It's either a fiber board or a cement board. And in this case, he's using HardieBacker, so it is definitely cement board. Words kind of matter because, again, somebody's going to go into Home Depot and says, hey, do you have some fiber cement board? And they're going to look at him like, oh.
And waterproofing this shower is going to be its own 5-step tutorial video. The vlog continues, and I am so hyped to share with y'all the tile that I chose for the shower. For the floor, I'm going to be using this really pretty pebble mosaic. I'll add white grout to all of these stones, and it'll just be an awesome natural look. But the tile I'm most excited for is what we're using on the walls. Check this out. It's these large format wood slat styled tiles.
And my personal opinion, because it's my video and it's my it's my channel and my opinion, this is a flip house. If somebody asked for this, people have asked for some funky tile in the past, and I'm like, ooh, I'm real hesitant. You sure you want to do that? Yes, I'm sure I want to do it. Homeowner. This is a flip house. He's putting this slat board type of weird looking tile with all these ridges on it on a flip house. You have to be able to make your house or anybody's house that you're going to do tile on palatable to the next person. There's going to be, if you got 10 people walking through that house, 5 are going to love that tile and the other 5 are going to hate it. Don't do something very, very subjective, especially on a flip house like that. That's just fugly.
I picked these up at the store called Floor & Decor. It's basically like a Home Depot tile section that's the size of an entire Home Depot. They were a killer deal. I'll put the price on the screen because I don't remember off the top of my head. It's honestly just going to look so cool. I'll use a tan color.
Now, one thing I will say, when they showed the price, that's $5.99 a square foot, and I think those are two square feet. They look 3 though. Anyway, so that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, about $18 a piece. That's a good tile. Regardless and despite what I said about it, how it looks, it's a really good tile at that price point. It's going to be rectified.
Grout that matches that wood, so all of the seams basically disappear. I'm looking forward to it though. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. That way it can get shared to more people and I end up making more vlogs. But I'm only going to make these videos if y'all enjoy watching them.
Oh, no. See, I think we're at the end of this video now. I'm only going to make more videos if you enjoy watching them. This guy's getting paid by, who's his sponsor? I think I don't know if he can double dip on YouTube. I don't know if you can get sponsored and also get paid through AdSense on YouTube. But either which way, he's making a boatload of money. That guy's pulling in at least, in my estimation, somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 a month. It could be could be more than that. $5,000 to $8,000 a month. And then he purports that I'm only going to make videos if you put a like and thumbs up and all that stuff, which gets the algorithm going so that he gets. I don't like, one of the things with my channel when I started 14 years ago, it's just me, right? It's not even, well, it's me and my work. My picture is not even my avatar on my YouTube channel. It's my work, because the channel has always been about my work, and I've been very forthright and honest in all my videos. And I also don't do hyperbole. I don't, hey, and if we get this, and oh no, I made a mistake, and we're going to fix this. And, I don't do that. That is kind of a showmanship that not only is not part of my personality, but it's not what I want to put out there. I want to put out true and factual type of information the best I can. And some of it that's not factual, because sometimes that is subjective, then you are the trier of fact. But I think being honest and upfront and all that stuff matters. And so, yeah, I guess that's a small critique. I don't know. I don't like it. It turns me off. It turns me off when anybody starts to treat a YouTube channel like it's a reality show. That's just me. Anyway, there's going to be part 3. That was part 2. There's going to be 3. As I go through these, there are 15, 20-minute clips that I have to talk 15 or 20 minutes on. So that's why it takes 30 minutes for me to get through one of them. But there's going to be part 2, probably part 3. Sorry, this is part 2. There's going to be part 3 and probably part 4. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Again, I'm not being aggressively, I'm not being a hater toward this guy. I'm just kind of steering him back in his lane and letting him know what a real tile guy thinks about his work. That's all I'm doing. As a person, I don't know the guy, so I can't even speak to him or his character and stuff like that. But this is my objective take on not only his work, but his persona that he's trying to put across, and some of the stuff that I have an issue with. So that's just me. You might have a different opinion. Probably do. Everybody does. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're going to call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.